All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again here on a stupendous Sunday morning. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show, wherever and however you may be watching and listening. We are live in the 702 on all major platforms: iHeartRadio, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. And also on the Fox D network. So in the bottom half of the hour, we've got QB or not to QB on a lot of teams that could possibly be looking at the quarterback position in the NFL, and as far as drafting wants and drafting needs. We'll be talking about that. My apologies, man. This congestion and everything else here on the dry heat desert of Las Vegas, it's been crazy. But by the way, congratulations last night to the Houston Astros. Donte Chriswell, a.k.a. Coach Donte, will be joining me here on the show talking about the Astros, and also going to be talking about the Houston Texans as well. So we'll have him on here in just a few minutes. So yeah, what a World Series that it was. And the Houston Astros, they're victorious. And mind you, there were no trash cans involved for a lot of people who still are stuck on that sore subject. And I do want to talk about this here for a little bit of the time. So, of course, the Astros, they won the World Series. They were the better team. They were the team that ended up exceeding the high expectations. They won over 100 games, and they have such an explosive team with lots and lots of talents. And I feel like, because at the end, it may be Justin Verlander's last year, possibly, but this was kind of the last ride. But the one person that I do want to focus on real quickly is, in fact, Houston Astros manager Dusty Baker. Because for years and years, he's managed baseball for over 25 years. For those that don't know about Dusty Baker, hell of a player. We remember him in the times of being in a Dodger uniform. He won a World Series as a player in 1981. And the Dodgers had such a great roster. I mean, they were loaded from top to bottom. And Tommy Lasorda was probably one of the most legendary managers in the game. And so for Dusty Baker's road to success, he's the one manager who had managed over 2,000 games. And one of the crazy things about Dusty Baker is, for years, managing the Cubs, the Giants, the Cincinnati Reds, and then, of course, the Houston Astros, and they could not possibly get over the hump. Don't forget the Washington Nationals. It was another team. And for both Bryce Harper and for Dusty Baker, I mean, they're both familiarized with each other. And Dusty had looked at Bryce being the phenom, being the chosen one, almost as if, like how he did in San Francisco with Barry Bonds. And everybody all talked about how legendary the roster was for the Giants back in 2002. You could not pitch around Barry Bonds. Steroids or not. To me, you cannot teach somebody with a powerful swing, quick to just make the adjustment, not to mention strike so quickly. He had one of the most powerful swings in baseball. I don't care what anybody else says. I mean, that's the truth of it. But in my opinion, with the way that certain things have basically flown on, Dusty Baker deserved it. Dusty Baker deserved every moment of the championship. Because knowing the rosters that he had managed for years, I mean, you got to look at years and years beyond in the 25 years he's managed. I mean, it took so long for him to finally achieve his goal. This was the last hurrah for him. And when I look at Dusty, because obviously everybody has their reserves on the Houston Astros, and I get it. America, majority of the time, have not let go of the 2017 World Series. We get it. But most of this was for Dusty Baker. That's all I can say. I mean, the talent is so deep because of the fact of you had star players who have basically been on this for 5+ years. You have a farm system of great players coming up from the minor leagues to the majors. And one of my biggest things with Houston Astros is that like the Dodgers, they could be so expendable. I mean, think about it. They lose Carlos Correa in the free agent market to the Minnesota Twins. He opts out. But yet they replace him with Jeremy Pena, who won his first Gold Glove, who was an NLCS and a World Series MVP in 1 year. And that was a tough position to fill because Correa was a superstar. Correa was one guy that had a great stick and was also somebody that could play defensively on the field. But in comes Jeremy Pena. And the Astros organization, they knew they were going to take the heat, but they didn't back down from who they are and what their identity is. Then they lose George Springer, goes to Toronto for about 5 years, I believe was the contract. And they thought, oh, this might put a fork in the road for the Astros. Not necessarily. I mean, they filled it in with Chas McCormick. I think at times McCormick does have an iffy type of offense, but defensively, if you're going to give me a glove in center field, I'll be totally fine with that. And you got plenty of different bats to use. By the way, they lost Yuli Gurriel for the rest of the series. And then in comes Trey Mancini, who they acquired in the trade deadline from Baltimore. So regardless of what people say about what the Houston Astros are, I know it's a sore and touchy subject sometimes because of the fact of we want to remind ourselves what happened in the 17 World Series for all of you Dodger fans out there. But here's the thing. We're already years past this. We watched this entirety of the World Series. First of all, the Phillies weren't even supposed to be here. They hadn't shown up into the World Series since 2009. Hadn't won it since 2008. And we talk about this inconsistent wave of the Phillies, but they made it. I mean, the Dodgers got eliminated. The Mets got eliminated. The Padres got eliminated. And the Phillies got here with the story, with the energy. And you got to think, they fired Joe Girardi at least at the quarter of the season. And then they bring in Rob Thompson. And then everything changes. And he gets an extension. There's heart on the team. But I think there's going to be some needed adjustments. I think Bryce Harper, more than anything, was glad to, at the very least, be in the World Series after being in this league for 10 years. This is why that I said, if there's anybody that I feel more concerned about, it's got to be Mike Trout. Because of the fact of your number 2 overall pick, who was selected after you, he gets to the World Series. What have the Angels done? And by the way, Brandon Marsh, one of their center fielders, he's in the World Series. Tells you a lot about the Angels organization of just the tire fire that they've become. And then the fact that, Artie Moreno, the owner, is now starting to seek possibilities of selling the team, which I think, honestly, you got to give Mike Trout the benefit. You have to. If they can't get this right with him and Shohei Ohtani, this is not going to look good for the Angels organization. It's not. But the one thing that I will say for Dusty Baker, and I feel much more happy of the fact of him winning the World Series, because he's a baseball name, one of the most legendary managers. He's already going to be in the Hall of Fame regardless of it. But I think this was the cherry on top of the cake. This was the one thing that Dusty Baker knew that he wanted to accomplish. And sure enough, he did. And so we're pulling this up, but but I wanted to look and basically say, what the interview was of it. Here was Dusty Baker after the championship.
2022 World Series champions. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I feel these guys are the greatest guys. They always believe. This is from my mom and my dad. My mom that passed in January. And my brother and all my boys here. Hey, baby. All right. Yes, sir. Hey, Smith. How you doing, bro? Sooner or later, you stick around long enough and you got good teams, it's going to happen sooner or later. You know what I mean? And this is, I said if I win one, I want to win two. So we might as well go for two. We'll see.
Now, you know these guys well. How much does this help them move past the 2017 fallout?
Well, they were past it anyway. And it was the rest of the world that kept reminding them, you know what I mean? But they were past it. I mean, these guys are past it. Tormenta, la tormenta! Thank you.
Thank you for what?
I hear you, bro.
Congrats, Dusty.
Thank you.
Good for baseball, and most importantly, good for Dusty Baker. Congratulations. 25 years, oldest manager at 73 years old to finally win a World Series. So with that being said, our guest who talks a lot about Houston sports overall, and of course, he's coaching his own football team, and that's why he's known as quote-unquote Coach Donte Chriswell, talking about Rockets, Astros, and the Texans via the Global Satellite Network presented by StreamYard. Joining me, well, Donte, that's got to feel really good. The fact that, it just feels like the Astros have had such a humongous monkey on their back since 2017 to win this World Series and and to finally do it, honestly, for Dusty Baker, for as long as he's managed baseball for 25 years. What did you see with this Astros team versus the last few times they've been in the World Series?
Well, I shout out to you, man, for having me on. Good morning, everybody. But I saw the same thing I saw the last couple of years we made it to the World Series. I say the timely hitting in tough situations. When you need a big hit, someone is stepping up and always getting a hit. I saw the defense. Chas McCormick with a hell of a play in Game 5. Pretty much saved the triple from JT Realmuto in time after time, the pitching and the bullpen. The last couple of years, you saw the same thing. The only difference that we couldn't finish it off against the Braves because, we didn't have Justin Verlander for a whole season. Then Lance McCullers went out in that Braves series. And, the arms got tired. The arms kind of got tired. And, Varmer Valdez and Luis Garcia, those guys, they kind of wasn't ready for the spotlight at that point in time. And then, of course, what happened to the Nationals? We lost 2 in a row. We lost 2 games in a row at home. And, but what I just saw the same thing, man. I just saw the same thing. What happened the last 2 years to this year? Same old thing. Timely hitting, great coaching, great pitching coach over here. And you got to be a great team. You got to be a great team to order, like you said, to let George Springer and Carlos Correa go, and you still have guys coming in and contribute immediately. It's just a blessing. So I just got to throw that credit to the Astros organization, to the development team, the farm system, because you don't let guys like that go if you don't have nobody coming up behind them. You had Jeremy Pena, who was our number 1 prospect, coming up behind Carlos Correa. When Carlos Correa was asking too much for the Houston Astros, they was willing to let him go, and Carlos Correa came up. He had a phenomenal season. The batting average was pretty low at the 250s. He had a trouble with the strikeouts a little bit, but he fixed that in the postseason. That was one thing every Astros fan was worried about. How is he going to fare in the postseason? And he had no problem showing you how he fared. And then also able to win a Gold Glove, something Carlos Correa really hasn't done in the Houston uniform. That's something special. So, his defense and his fielding is straight is great. It's just a great team overall, man. I just feel great about Dusty Baker. And we got that monkey off our back because the first thing everybody thought of was 2017. You can't say it now because we was able to do it again all of a sudden. But like I say, 6 American League pennants in a championship series in a row. 4 out of 6 World Series. That is hard to get to, man. In any sport, it is hard to get right back there to a championship, especially out of a 162 game season. And I'm so excited, man. I'm so excited.
Absolutely, man. And it's kind of crazy because of the fact of, like we mentioned, and let's talk about that too, Jeremy Pena, who came in a position where Carlos Correa, he held the fort down since his rookie year of 2015. And one of the crazy things is there was so many controversial stuff that had flown around because of the 17 World Series, the trash cans, all the rest of that stuff. And a lot of people kind of felt very differently about Carlos Correa. But the second that he departures out, goes and takes a contract with Minnesota, in comes Jeremy Pena, filling in the big time role. What did you think of him all season long? I mean, the fact that he wins his first Gold Glove, he's an NLCS and a World Series MVP and champion. I mean, this has got to feel really good for the Astros organization, knowing just because they lost Correa didn't mean that it hurt the position much. So how big of the impact has Jeremy Pena literally left to the point it led it all the way to the Astros winning their second World Series?
He's been big all year. I mean, at the beginning of the year, he struggled with strikeouts. He struggled with strikeouts, striking out with strikeout. He struck out awfully a lot. He had trouble seeing the ball early during the season, but I'll say the second game, you go back to his second game when you really saw something in him. His mother and his father was getting interviewed against the Angels. He had a big night that night. Went 4 for 5 with a home run that night. Then we struggling against a blue. We were struggling. We was 8-9. We playing Toronto. He hits a walk-off home run, his first ever walk-off home run. Then he hits one against Seattle. He hits a big-time home run against Seattle. Then after the All-Star break, you start seeing him make a little bit more contact. Just being aggressive, just being a little patient, just working the counts, putting the bat on the ball. It wasn't going anywhere, but he was putting the bat on the ball. So at the end of the day, he was getting hot. He got hot in that first half. He got some confidence. He got momentum. Then this playoff come against Seattle when he helped. When we were down, we was down big against Seattle. 8-6. He helped Yordan Alvarez come up to hit that 3-run home run with a single over the middle. So you go back to game 2, he draw a walk. Stuff like that, not striking outs, being able to work counts now later in the season kind of helped this approach out a little bit. Then you take it to the Yankee series when he hit that big time home run on a great pitcher, Heston Cortez, who you can argue was the Yankees' most consistent pitcher. He knocks them out of the game. Then you come back. Then game 1 in the World Series, he also made a big old impact on how the Astros won this World Series in game 5 when he hits that big home run to put the Astros up 2-1. So all postseason long, he's been our best hitter in the postseason. Altuve's been struggling. He didn't hit anything during the postseason, but you got guys like that say in the lineup what the Astros been doing. When someone is struggling, they picking him up. And Jeremy Pena definitely picked Jose Altuve up when he was struggling. And he's a big key and a big piece of reason why the Astros won this World Series. And, like I say, you got to give credit to the farm system on how they develop guys and how they developed Jeremy Pena to let Carlos Correa go like that. And Jeremy Pena, his rookie year, immediately step up, hits over 20 home runs, and be MVP of the World Series and be the ALCS MVP and also win a Gold Glove. That's something special. And the Astros got a phenom. And like I say, I was happy for him last night. I'm happy for the organization as a whole. And Jeremy Pena is a bright spot, man. He's a bright spot. And when I start seeing him making more contact of the baseball, I say if he can do this consistently and not strike out a lot, he's going to be a tough guy. He's going to be a tough guy, or probably even better than Carlos Correa.
Yeah, and I mean that's going to be a lot. Like, it was a huge expectation coming into the year, and the fact that he filled it in beautifully, and the fact that the Astros now are just kind of looking into the scenario of like, look, we don't really need Correa, and the fact that he opts out of his contract in Minnesota, I felt like part of that is because he felt some type of way the second that the Astros made it into the World Series. He wasn't going to be happy about that, but it does show that, like, any types of interests or whatever the case may be, they've already got a shortstop. They got somebody that, was a Gold Glove winner, somebody that really impacted the way that this team rolled all season long. One other player, though, too, that I think about, Justin Verlander. I mean, the fact that he's been in this league for so long, has been to multiple World Series trips between Detroit and Houston. Is this now a possibility with another World Series on his belt? Do we kind of see Justin Verlander just saying, you know what? I gave my everything, my 110%. I think I'm ready to hang the cleats up. Is that a possibility for Justin Verlander, or is there something else in the works?
I think it's going to be something else in the works because he is a free agent this off season. So I think it's going to be something else in the works. And you saw it on the after the World Series game when he was on the post game show. You saw David Ortiz throw some money at him saying they need to pay him. So I think it's going to be something in the works. What if he stays with the Astros, or what if he don't go somewhere else? But like I say, if he decides to retire, he's had a great career. He's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. He's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer when he leave this league. But I got a sense that he's going to be still want to pitch, and to be at age 39 and to dominate in the season the way he did, with the velocity jumping up at 98 still, and him being able to get that fastball, reach that fastball right there at 97 to 98. That's something special. He struggled in game 1 against the Seattle Mariners. The offense kind of bailed him out with Yordan Alvarez. Was just as hot as they come. He was just as hot as they come. Anywhere you threw a ball, he was going to hit. He hits it out. Game 1 against the Phillies, he cost us. He pretty much cost the Astros that game. Spotted them 5 runs, and that's something you would never see out of Justin Verlander this year. And when Houston Astros, he has any type of lead, you feel good about him going on the mound, but you got to give credit to the Phillies bats. They worked the count late in the game, and they got some pitches to hit, tough pitches to hit. They capitalized, but game 5, he didn't really have a solid game 5, but it was good enough. It was good enough. He walked 4, and he strike out guys when he needed to strike out. So again, it's fun with him being an Astro, but I think it's something in the works. What if the Astros bring him back, or what if he goes somewhere else? I think he's going to play. I probably already made that decision, is play another year of baseball.
Well, and you got to think, depending on what the scenario is. I mean, look, here's what's funny. I mean, we talk about the Tom Brady Giselle situation, but I think, Justin Verlander, he's going to obviously be living good. The fact that, he's got a modeled wife in Kate Upton. So we don't even talk about that a lot. But, at the end of the day, whatever he decides to do, he's living good. He's going to be doing just fine. Donte Chriswell joining me on the show. Let's talk about Dusty Baker, first of all. I mean, he managed for over 25 years, and I loved watching him as, I watched rerun tapes of when he was a player. The last time he won a World Series was in 1981 as a Dodger, as a player. And the crazy thing about Dusty is, and he bounced around the entirety of the league, the Cubs, the Giants, the Nationals, the Reds, and then here we are with the Houston Astros. And he's always had such a tremendous and legendary resume of like evaluating lineups and then building them to the strengths of what everyone in that lineup could do. And especially too on the pitching rotation, to finally get past the hump over 25 years to finally win the World Series. I mean, he's going to be a legendary Hall of Famer, period. I mean,
no doubt.
With or without.
No doubt.
But this had to now feel like, you know what? This is a first ballot thing. Like,
Yep.
what did you think after winning that World Series?
Man, hey man, you seen how me and my uncle jumped up and down and was happy for him. We damn near cried together, man, last night. And you saw immediately after Kyle Tucker caught the baseball, you saw the coaching staff just mug him over there and say, Dusty, Dusty. Everybody, the team wanted this for Dusty. You had other fan base wanted this for Dusty. You had the announcers wanted this for Dusty. He had such a great resume coming in, going his first World Series appearance with the Giants. He was up 3-2 against the Anaheim Angels, and they didn't close it out. They lost against Troy Glaus and John Salmons and all of those guys.
Yep.
You saw the one against the Chicago Cubs where he had a 3. I think he had a lead. The Moises Alou catch. They feel like they got robbed on that one, and the Marlins were able to come back and beat them from down 3-1. The Washington Nationals, he had Bryce Harper on that team. The team, I thought, self-destructed on its own, self-destructed at that point of time, and then they start making errors against the Chicago Cubs. But then you go against us, and you're like, here we go again. Here we go again when he plays the Nationals. We up 3-2. We win game 5 against the Nationals. Zach Greinke pitched as well as he could. We just could not pile the hits together. We leaving men on base, but at the same time, I think the pitching staff kind of wore down too. They kind of got tired at that point. Garrett Cole and Justin Verlander got tired at that point, and the Juan Soto and the Nationals were hot coming into that World Series as well. And then you had the Atlanta Braves, another hot team. We were favored to win that series. We didn't have a Justin Verlander or a Lance McCullers Jr. because Lance McCullers, who was really pitching well like an ace throughout that whole season, when he kind of went out, they kind of hurt it and made the pitching staff more thin. So we had to toss Urquidy and Luis Garcia and those guys, and Brahma Valdez. They wasn't ready yet. They were pretty young and immature at that point in time. But then you come to this one, and we already down 0-1. You see a lot of people still panicking. And saying Dusty, this will be another one Dusty will lose right here. Then the Astros get it back due to Brahma Valdez being brilliant. Then you see Lance McCullers tipping his pitches and getting batted around like he was a jug machine. But then again, he pitches Christian Javier, and that's one guy that I gotta give credit to because he pitched not one no-hitter, but 2 no-hitters.
Oh, he was so good.
Yankees, yes. But then to do it in a World Series, man, to dominate like how he did, that gave the Astros the momentum he wanted to give them. And then, Jeremy Pena happened in game 5, and then we were able to close it out with Brahma Valdez. So happy for Dusty Baker, and he's no doubt a first ballot, but he's been in so many tough situations, so many great teams where they really had their foot on the other team's neck. They just couldn't close it out. But I'm happy that the Astros were able to close the Philadelphia Phillies out last night. And, Dusty Baker definitely deserved it. But this one guy that know how to develop guys, he should know what he's doing. He knows his guys. He has confidence in his guys. Trey Mancini, 1 for 19. He talked to him at batting practice, and he said, trust in your instincts. What he do? He comes, he gets a hit tonight. Finally gets a hit tonight. Something had to go good for the Astros when he get a hit. So other than that, he's just a great guy, and I'm just happy for him, man. I'm just happy for him.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think. I mean, the list itself goes on of many, many great players that he's managed with. I mean, Barry Bonds at the time in 2002, where he was just a legendary hitter, unhit. Like, you can't pitch in any of the zones, whether steroided or not. I don't care. Like, he still had one of the quickest bats in baseball that you can't teach. The Cubs, Kerry Wood as a pitcher. I mean, there were several players from there, and then Cincinnati with Joey Votto and Brandon Phillips. I mean, we all remember the legendary press conferencing of when he took Brandon Phillips out of the cleanup hole, and you could just hear in the background how pissed he was. And then that's just Baker. That's just Dusty going, look, he's going to hate me now, but he's going to love me later. But it's like things like that. It's because you're under a manager who has seen it all, and he knows exactly how to adjust his spots. But then to go down the list, he's played along with Bryce Harper in Washington and several other really good players. And then to the point of here he is in Houston, where he's managed guys like Jose Altuve. He's managed guys like Alex Bregman. So it's so good to see him, winning a World Series. I can agree with that. And my big thing is that because I know with the city of Houston, my first initial like reaction is like, whatever you do, just say the right things. I'm not saying like, and to a point, because first of all, I felt like a lot of it, Correa kind of opened up that hole, and then just all of America. I mean, Twitter can't stop tweeting, and then you have everybody all just unfiltered, all throwing all this stuff. So it's like making the Astros kind of feel like they're the villains of America. But at the end of it, I thought this was great. I thought the players really did play this out right, and again, for everybody who knows, we're not trash cans involved. You didn't hear any banging like left and right. So, this really did kind of send out a message to America, right?
Yep. I mean, that's sending out a message. Hey man, even after the cheating scandal, we're still this elite team in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But if you respect us or not, we still can get to the World Series. We still the boogeymans of the American League in all of baseball. We're still here, and we're gonna still be here for the next couple of years. We're still gonna be right here. What if everybody liking or not? What if they respect us or not? Like I say, and this proves this the icing on the cake. Like I say, what other team that you can know that can let players go and still be the same team and get back to the same spot? 6 American League Championship Series in a row and 4 out of 6 World Series. What team do you know that can do that in Major League Baseball right now? You think if the Yankees lose Judge, can they be the same again? I don't think they can be the same again. I don't think they can be the same again if they lose Judge. If the Phillies lose Bryce Harper, do you think they can be a championship contender again? Not sure. So, like I say, the only team you can go to that can lose a player and have no problem letting the player go and get someone out of the farm system to compete immediately is the Houston Astros. And the Astros have proven that time and time again. I mean, we don't even got great center fielders. We tried Jake Myers out there when George Springer left. He didn't work out. We tried Jose Siri out there. Now, I was high on Jose Siri before we traded him to the Tampa Bay Rays. But when he started getting up there, not making contact, striking out, striking out and stuff, and Dusty was taking him out of the lineup, I knew he was getting traded at that time. And he finally
Miles Straw was another.
Miles Straw was a very good one. He didn't have much power, but he had contact and he had speed. We traded him, and that's the moment that I say Chas McCormick is going to get his chance. Chas McCormick is a better player. He's a better player, better batter, and you seen in the postseason against the Yankees, Harrison Bader made that big mistake. You seen him make him pay with that oppo home run right there, and he's had some big at-bats throughout the season and throughout the playoffs. So other than that, we flip-flop in a sense with the center fielder position. Trey Mancini, he's got an option if he wants to go or not, or if the Astros want to keep him, or they got to come to an agreement with that. But other than that, I'm so happy. I'm so just happy about it, man. Like I say, I don't know any team that can let a player go and just let a superstar player go and just get someone out of the farm system and find a stud like Jeremy Pena and step up. But right now, this got to take the monkey off our bats. Like it or not, respect us or not, the Astros still going to be the boogeyman and the hunters of the American League for years to come with this team still put together. Jose Altuve is not going nowhere. Tucker is not going nowhere. Pena is not going nowhere. Bretman not going nowhere. Verlander, he might go somewhere, but we can still be good because we made it to the World Series without him in 20 and against the Braves. We made it without him. And Farmer Valdez is a stud, Jake. The guy is good, man. The guy's really, really good. Oh, Luis Garcia is really, really good. He didn't start in pitching, but he came out in the bullpen in game 1. He did give up the home run. But he's really, really good. And this team is still going to be something special with years to come. And this team may, if they not already, is a dynasty. And it's going to be hard to beat this team, whether people like it or not. So like I said, other than that, I love being the villain. I love being called cheaters and stuff like that, because like I say, the Astros, they prove it time and time again. They still here. They still going to be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, the fact that, and it's crazy to see too, because of the fact that, Justin Verlander, he'll be a free agent, but I think in case if anything does happen, Christian Javier, it may end up bridging for him to be that number one starter. I mean, we watch Lance McCullers, but we have seen time and time again where he does have clutch stuff, but at the same time, he does have some of those times where he'll be on an inconsistent wave, and it has to take a second for him to get dialed in. And then, Valdez, my God. I mean, the only knock on him was they weren't sure he was going to have enough control in his pitches. But God, he's so filthy with that sinker. He was filthy with the sinker and with the curveball. That's where I was like, he's making a lot of batters just look silly. That's why I'm like, if he could just get control of that and he could just work on that to where that's his pitching arsenal, you're absolutely right. He could very much be that dangerous pitcher and another upgrade into their starting rotation. Let's talk about the Houston Texans, by the way, because wasn't that just interesting that Thursday, sure enough, you had a Phillies-Astros World Series, and then you had an Eagles-Texans Thursday night football game. And here's what I will say. I really do like Dameon Pierce. I think he's a very good pure runner. I do think he's somebody that really is like that jolt for the Houston Texans moving forward. I just look at this team right now, and everybody kind of knows what their identity is. They're accumulating a lot of draft picks. I could have swore Brandon Cooks would have been on the market, and he would have been traded away. A lot of people have been saying, Green Bay would have been a destination. The Dallas Cowboys would have been a destination, but none of that happened. What seems to be the plan moving forward? Because it's like they got a lot of work to do. Is there anything you see that with a lot of accumulated picks, I do think the Texans, by the end of the year, they may actually shoot for the number one overall pick. So they're going to look really good by the end of it. But what you're seeing currently that they need to address those issues?
Well, you can start by saying evaluating the quarterback situation as well, because Davis Mills is not helping his situation out. He's completely regressed this year. He had a game pass on the regular. He was one of the best in the NFL. His team
he's cutting in and out, guys. Hold on.
I'm good.
Hold on, because I know you were cutting out here a little bit. Yeah, here. Here, I'll put you down here real quick just until we can get the connection back up online. But yeah, he does make a great point about it, which is, first of all, you could be the villain in baseball. You do not they're not asking for, any types of bigger high praises. I don't think that that's exactly what the Astros were looking for. They're looking for the sign of, we won the World Series. We've been to several of them, and we still continue to be the juggernaut in Major League Baseball, regardless of what the Yankees and all the rest of the other teams are. The Aaron Judge situation, you can already tell by the facial expression and by his body language, he's not going to stay there in New York. I just and it's so odd to me that a guy like Aaron Judge, who's hit 62 bombs this year, and a kid from NorCal at Fresno State, I do have a feeling he's probably going to end up going to California because he just kind of looks that way. He looks the part. But that'll be a crushing blow for the Yankees. And they're still dealing with Giancarlo Stanton's contract. They're still holding on to a lot of different pieces. And yeah, they just haven't really figured out the formula. And here's what's funny about this is it's, as I've said before, prestigious franchises like the Cowboys, the Yankees, and the Lakers. Here's the thing about the Lakers, and I've said it over and over and over again. You could have that stardom with LeBron James, but if you're not picking up any shooters, you're not picking up a lot of different, like, really quality players who are at their primes, and plus you're giving them the benefit that this is a well-ran organization. It's tough. And I mean, look, Darvin Ham is a rookie coach trying to figure things out. You've got Russell Westbrook coming off the bench, and it's like the Lakers, they just it's not the same similar formula. Look at, right now with the Dallas Cowboys. Here's what they figured out is that their juggernaut is on defense. Micah Parsons is absolutely a stud. Then there's Trayvon Diggs. Then there's several others that they also really do consider. But Dak Prescott is not a $40 million a year quarterback, not even close, especially when you had Cooper Rush go on that streak. You also have, Tony Pollard, who, thank God, they're saying he's a number one back because Zeke is just getting slower and slower and slower. And but the Cowboys, they have a formula. They're running that through. The Yankees, especially with Aaron Boone, I don't know what they're doing at times. They're having power hitters be leadoff hitters, which I don't agree with. I've played baseball for years. I've watched it ever since I was a kid. I have a baseball background, and people will tell you that doesn't work. That formula does not work. And a lot of that sometimes has to come from the general manager, and it's like the managers have no power. They've got nothing. So to me, the Yankees are going to definitely struggle if, in fact, Aaron Judge leaves the building. I mean, I really did like DJ LeMahieu, the fact that he could spray the ball opposite field. I think Harrison Bader, very good defensive center fielder, and is somebody that does bring pop. But the Yankees, for as much of the stardom that they bring along, you've got to find a balance. And that comes from your pitching staff, that comes from your bullpen, that comes from a lot of different reasons. So, and if they can't figure that out, that's what is nuts. But oh, I know, Arku. but again, it's pure honesty, though. Like it truthfully is pure honesty when it comes to the Cowboys. But they do have a formula, and so far the formula has been working. They've been very reliant up on defense, which is really, really good because, again, they've held opponents to at least like 16, 17 points a game. That's where I'm like, this is a really good defense. So nobody can dispute that. We want to take a look and shout out to a couple of our comments here. Shanna, what's going on? And of course, our good friend Beantown Breakdown. What's going on? Good morning, my friend Bobby, and screw your teams as well out in Boston, because I'm going to be making my trip up out there. Greg and John K in the building as well, realest ones, Arku, and then of course shout out to my brother here, Halo Raider, as of course he's going to be getting geared up for that Raiders and Jaguars game because a lot's on the line for Josh McDaniels. You know it for sure, but I'm glad you're doing well. Best of wishes to you with you and the fam. Can't wait to see you guys again soon. But yeah, it really, really is nuts. But I don't know if we really recovered the the connection with Coach Donte, but that's okay. No worries. But he did make a lot of really, really good points. The fact of the Jeremy Pena situation, it was just so high, losing Carlos Correa, but then in the end, it did not hurt them that much. So the Astros were still able to win the World Series without him, without George Springer, without, a lot of different players, even Garrett Cole. I mean, that was one other arm younger than Justin Verlander. They were able to win that World Series without him. And that just tells you how expendable, like the Dodgers are. But the Dodgers, they got a lot to think about. They got a lot to really think about with their roster, with the way that this offseason is really going to pan out for them. But it is interesting to see. But congratulations to the Houston Astros, second World Series title in franchise history. I mean, again, this stems all the way from the bottom to the top. When you watch Craig Biggio, Billy Wagner, Jeff Bagwell, several other great Astro players, all the way until you get to the point where you have Altuve, Bregman, Yordan Alvarez. Good for them, and also great for Dusty Baker as well. I'm happy for him. All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty first. So first of all, I made my prime predictions yesterday. And one of the topics that I definitely wanted to talk about, because first of all, we've heard this team several times, and they're playing the Seahawks today. That's the Arizona Cardinals. Last time they played them, they lost to Geno Smith and the Seahawks. They've made so much noise during the offseason. Like, I'm watching every one of their games. First of all, the defense right now is banged up. The offensive line stinks. And first of all, what really has Kliff Kingsbury really accomplished? Like, since the 10-year time with working with Patrick Mahomes and Texas Tech, he hadn't accomplished much. The only thing he got out of it was Patrick Mahomes' transition from a college quarterback to an NFL quarterback, and the rest of the story is history. And Andy Reid was able to really adjust a lot of his strengths, and now he's the most unbelievable quarterback we see currently. But Kliff Kingsbury, you're dealing with Kyler Murray, who knows if he really does study the playbook or not. It's questionable, but you're paying him over $240 million a year, like $240 million in the big time contract. That's insane. And the fact that Kyler Murray cannot seem to work well under pressure. This is why that I've pushed for this for last several years, and people have bashed on me for it. The offensive line stinks. I remember the time when they had Steve Wilks and they also had Josh Rosen. The offensive line could not work. It couldn't work. And that's why Arizona is in the position that they are in now. And you saw my prime predictions yesterday. I'm taking the Seahawks at +2 because right now, Pete Carroll and this story with Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker, and Tariq Woolen, like all these rookies are hitting right now. Like it almost feels like I'm back in 2012 again with this team. And it's making a lot of people like Russell Wilson. Things aren't really going good there in Denver with Nathaniel Hackett, which I do think a lot of that is the coaching problem. But a lot of things are really, really happening well for Seattle. But look, this Arizona franchise, I mean, yes, I agreed with the Kyler Murray situation because outside of him, who else do you really have at quarterback? They're the most irrelevant franchise in the NFL. I mean, yes, they're up in the desert in Phoenix and also up in Tempe. But at the same time, the Cardinals can't get over the stretch. They can't get over the stretch with Kyle Shanahan. They can't get over the stretch with Sean McVay. And now you can't even get over the stretch of Pete Carroll. So the Cardinals really have to think about this really, really hard. Because here's the thing. Kingsbury, you gave him an extension, and same with Kyler Murray. That's why the ownership is under fire. Because you cannot expect an underachieving year after you went to the playoffs. You got your asses handed to by the Rams in the playoffs. And I've already made this assumption. They can't win without DeAndre Hopkins. They can't. They're so DeAndre Hopkins reliant that once he's suspended or he's hurt, they're not the same offense. But all right, we got the connection back here for Coach Donte. And so, yeah, so talking about it with the Houston Texans, I mean, the fact of, the issues that they would honestly address. And we talked about the quarterback position because of Davis Mills. Yeah. I agree with that. I thought there was something there with Davis Mills that he's got good accuracy. He has something that could work with it, but offensive line needs some adjustments. They need something that they could honestly adjust to. But I mean, looking at the quarterback situation, I mean, with the number 1 overall pick, is it possible that maybe the Texans could invest in Bryce Young?
Oh, it's very possible. It's very possible. The way he's playing, he makes it possible. Or even if we had a number 2 pick, you got to consider that on how he's playing. Now, I don't know if the Texans would do that, but like I said, at the end of the day, you can't rule it out because the way he's playing, he's been so inconsistent, throwing the ball in tough situations. His decision making has definitely been terrible, god awful. You tied at you tie. I know that I get it that the Eagles are a better football team, but you're tied at 14 apiece. And the interception that he threw was uncalled for. He didn't have to throw it, and that's how the Eagles got their momentum right there. You're in the game with the top team in football. You cannot afford to make mistakes that will kill you. He made the mistake against the Chargers. First play of the game, threw an interception to Adderley. He threw an interception to him. So at the end of the day, Davis Mills' decision making has not helped us out, and he has made a beat. I think it should be consideration for us to get a quarterback. Offensive line has been okay. It's not been the great. Kenyon Green, he's still got a lot to learn. The rookie that we got, Laramie Tunsil, has also helped him out. No doubt about it that Dameon Pierce is a stud running back. He's basically the Texans offense at this point. The receiving core don't look good. Brandon Cooks, I thought the receiving core played pretty well Thursday, though. I thought they played pretty well. They competed pretty well. They outplayed the Eagles wide receivers. So I guess that's a plus on that one. Brandon Cooks, he signed the 2-year contract, so he got to put himself in his own situation at the end of the day. He signed the 2-year contract. He knew he was getting into. He knew he wasn't a winning franchise and a winning organization. So he still put the pin on the dotted line. So he have to go through that. That's his own wrongdoing as well. The receiving core outside of that, not that deep. Nico Collins was having a good year before he got hurt. I think we need receiving help in the draft. The linebacker help we definitely going to need. Jalen Petrie, Derek Stingley, and the rookie Harris linebacker has been solid. Derek Stingley has been sensational. So we got some pieces on the defense and the offense that can help us, but we need a lot more on the offense.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, and we knew this. We talked about this the last few times, and the fact that, the Texans were in an uncertain situation, but at the same time, they've been accumulating draft picks. They've been accumulating a lot of different, draft capital, and of course too with the cap. So it'll be interesting to see how Houston really, really adjusts to. But again, I think they really have hit the nail with the running back position with Dameon Pierce, because watching him at Florida, this kid was going to be a stud, and I think they really have found it. I mean, it's been a long time coming since Arian Foster and, since several other running backs, but he really does look good up on this offense.
Yeah.
But if you don't mind, we actually do have our best for last, which is QB or not to QB. We talk about the quarterbacks scenarios all around in the NFL, because we do have a lot of our top quarterbacks, and then we also have some that they're uncertain of. So if you'd like, because we're definitely doing this whole thing, we could definitely evaluate it. So, all right, well, let's get some music up on here real fast. All right, so I don't think to QB.
Okay.
Here's the hardest part, because first of all, Marcus Mariota is playing really good.
Yep.
And they've already won 6 games against the spread. So Arthur Smith's offense is working. But and by the way, Cordero Patterson, he's off the IR. He's healthy now. And they just drafted a quarterback in Desmond Ridder. And I watched him in preseason. He's got some stuff. What do you think?
I think Desmond Ridder is the quarterback of the future of this team. He's got some great intangibles, man. And that's good. He's sitting behind a veteran quarterback like a Marcus Mariota. And I like the direction that these guys are going in with the quarterback situation. So he's definitely going to be the quarterback of the future. They do got 2 good cornerbacks in A.J. Terrell and Hayward. You just need to add a few more weapons. I like Drake London and Kyle Pitts, but I think you just need to add a few more weapons on the offensive side. But I guess I think Desmond Ridder is going to be the QB of the future for this Atlanta Falcons squad.
I'm telling you right now, I'm seeing a lot of really great weapons, especially this past Saturday when we had upsets all around the board and a lot of offensive weapons. I mean, they might be investing in those wide receiver spots, so I can see that happen. The Carolina Panthers to QB or not to QB? Absolutely to QB, because first of all, this is not working with Baker Mayfield, neither Sam Darnold. I know they drafted Matt Corral, and he was out for the entirety of the season, but I watched him several times in Ole Miss. He's got some stuff, but I don't know if that's something that can adjust to the NFL level. And PJ Walker, look, let me be honest. He's a really good backup. Like, he's somebody that you could really trust, really put your arms around, of somebody that can get you wins. But as far as against playoff teams, I don't think he's truthfully the right guy. So what do you think for Carolina?
It's definitely not QB there. It's definitely not QB there. They brought Baker Mayfield in to help a little bit. That has not worked out. That has turned into a dumpster fire. Everybody knew Matt Rule is that he also doesn't help. He's not a good coach. I believe he's going to be a good college coach, but it doesn't translate to the NFL. Sam Darnold, we already knew what he was when he came over. Pretty much, we already knew what he was. And Walker is nothing more than a backup quarterback. Matt Corral has been hurt, so I think they may need another QB. They need to consider hiring, getting a QB up in Carolina.
Oh yeah, I like I said, because I mean, they're going to be losing a lot of their weapons. They've already done so already. And I mean, the only guy that I would really want to see more production on is Terrace Marshall. Yep. I've been waiting for that kid to get on fire at some point. I mean, I watched him in college. He's got great hands, but if he can adjust his route running skills and he could really be a lethal force in that offense, then that'll help for the next quarterback coming in. Detroit Lions to QB or not to QB? I would say to QB for one conditional reason. Because Jared Goff, he's comfortable at home. Like and I've already picked the Lions against the Packers this week. And the knock on Jared Goff is, I think part of this may be Dan Campbell, but I think a part of this of Jared Goff, it leads to his tenure with the Rams. But there's times where he can get red hot, but then when he's away from Ford Field, he's a completely different quarterback. Is that something Detroit might look at?
Yeah, I would say not to QB for Jared Goff. I just don't think he's the answer. You can't put him on any other team. He make a team better. He just makes the team better right then and there. Like you said, you mentioned the road struggles. He's totally inconsistent on the road. In the quarterback position, you need to be consistent. You need to have consistency. And Jared Goff is just too inconsistent. I think they consider drafting a quarterback with a top 2 pick in the draft. So I think they take that in consideration. And I think Jared Goff probably will lose his job probably next year. If he don't get the job done this year, they're 1-6. They're struggling. And it starts at the quarterback position. So I'm going to say not to QB, and I'm going to say they draft the quarterback next year.
Boy, I love their offensive weapons, though. DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm waiting for Jameson Williams to get healthy, and I think that'll be interesting. The Indianapolis Colts to QB or not to QB? I'm going to say to QB because, look, I love the Colts general managing Chris Ballard. I really, really do. And ultimately, there's a part of me that reserves for Frank Reich because, first of all, he's a former quarterback. He backed up Jim Kelly in Buffalo. And, he has quite that resume when it comes to different quarterbacks. But I'm going to say this. I think the owner, Jim Irsay, he was in one of his moods and let Carson Wentz go after he had 27 touchdowns and 7 picks last year with a bottom-tier wide receiver class.
Yep.
I mean, and now you got Sam Ehlinger, and they're playing the Patriots. And I think the Patriots are just going to annihilate Sam Ehlinger, in my opinion. Yep. What do you think of the Colts situation with that?
I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with the QB because I am high on Sam Ehlinger. I think he can do some things. I think he can run the ball, his ability to run the ball up out of the pocket, and he can also throw it. I'm not going to say he's going to throw it with consistency, but he has some huge upside. Just think you need to get him a couple of weapons around him. Outside of Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman Jr., I think they need another weapon that can keep this offense honest. Alec Pierce, he's going to come together late during the season, the rookie out of Cincinnati. But I think they're going to need some more help on the offensive side. But I'm really high on Sam Ehlinger for the Indianapolis Colts. Even though I do think the Patriots are going to win this game today, I am very high on Sam Ehlinger.
And like I said, I've been saying that several times about their wide receiver core. They have got to help it out. I do like Alec Pierce. I do think the kid's got some great upside, and I love Michael Pittman. But if you're not guaranteeing me another offensive weapon, here's the thing. You got maybe 2 years of this offensive line left before it's completely deteriorated. So you don't want to waste your time, because I love Quentin Nelson, and I do love a lot of their fronts. But I mean, first of all, look at what happened with the Cowboys. The Cowboys had time with the offensive line, but then once Travis Frederick and everybody else went down, now you're kind of starting to see this offensive line needs to get better. New York Jets, to QB or not to QB? That's a tough one, because first of all, you're asking yourself, are you going to rely on one more year of Zach Wilson? I know the injuries, and last week he threw 4 picks. This is not going to be good either when they're playing Buffalo this week in New Jersey. But I'm going to say to QB, because here's my thing. Joe Douglas, the general manager, he aced the draft twice in a row now. And I love Garrett Wilson. I love Breece Hall, and it sucks that he went down for the rest of the year. But look at the talent that's around them right now. I mean, this could be primed whether you do have Zach Wilson still as your quarterback or you bring in the next guy. First of all, Joe Flacco's past his prime. He's not the same quarterback, but he is quite the quarterback whisperer who can help to develop the next guy in this locker room. But I mean, we've seen spurts of Mike White when he's been throwing at quarterback, but I mean, that's kind of a juggle. What do you think?
I'm gonna say I want to go with not the QB on this one. Zach Wilson has been an ultimate game manager. I get that, but you do need him to make some throws when you need the big time throws.
He's
against a team like Buffalo. You got to know how to stay in the pocket. They have committed to the running game. They had got James Robinson after Breece Hall, and then got hurt. They still got a nice little running back tandem over there. Gary Wilson is gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine. Corey Davis over there, and Denzel Mims, and you got Elijah Moore over there who's unhappy. So you have 2 receivers that are really unhappy. You got a tight end and CJ Muzama, and I'm very happy for Robert Saleh. That guy's an excellent coach, but you're gonna need that quarterback that can push the ball down the field, that can make plays when it mattered the most. Because when you're playing against Buffalo, when you're playing against New England, situational football matters. And I think his lack of situational football and him not being able to push the ball down the field is going to hurt the New York Jets. So I think they need to start shopping in the draft for another QB to put some fire. If they do keep him, just to put some fire upon him, put some fire on Zach Wilson. Hey, this is a make or break season for you.
By the way, here's one good note: Mekhi Becton, because they have got to fill in that tackle role. And he's been hurt now for the last couple seasons. So it's either they still do invest in him, or they're going to have to figure out that tackle position, because that's one part of that offensive line that's really hurting them. But Elijah Vera Tucker, he's great. I think he really did fill in that hole. But by the way, can we talk about how saucy Sauce Gardner is right now? Like that I think part of that, like, Robert Saleh's got to be happy coaching that kid.
Yeah, he got to be happy about that, man. That kid is good, man. That kid is good. He's really good, man.
That's why I'm like, hey, we're going to be watching games here today. And look, I'll go down to Buffalo Wild Wings, and I'll sauce myself up some good stuff on some wings. Minnesota Vikings, the QB or not to QB? Look, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to lean on to QB, and here's my reason why. First of all, they just acquired TJ Hawkinson, a really quality tight end. You got Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, Dalvin Cook. This offense is loaded. And all that this is doing is sending a message to Kirk Cousins. You have got to win in prime time. Like, there's no more screwing around. But if that doesn't happen, I think they're going to get out of this Kirk Cousins relationship because, by the way, Kevin O'Connell, he's a hit. He's a hit as a head coach. I think they really have pivoted to offense. They've said it before that this relationship between Kirk Cousins and Mike Zimmer was so strained that it took a lot of those playmaking away. But if this doesn't work out with Kirk Cousins, I mean, the safest thing you can do for the Minnesota Vikings, get your next quarterback and build him up. And I'll make a hot take. Could you imagine Will Levis in this offense?
Yep.
Like that kid from Kentucky.
Yep.
That just spells to me that kid with his arm and with his talent, Justin Jefferson's just going to be just burning everybody out burning out opposing defenses. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to say QB right here along with you. Kirk Cousins has to get this team over the top. You got Hawkinson now, a tight end who's arguably a top 10 tight end in the National Football League. You got arguably a top 10 running back in the National Football League when he's healthy. And you have probably a top 4 wide receiver in Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen still has it. You got KJ Osborne. So you got so many weapons all over the place. You have to at least get it done this year. And you have probably the second best record in football. So you have to at least get it done this year for Kirk Cousins. And I can see them moving on from him if it falls anything short of at least going to an NFC championship game or anything. I can at least see them moving on.
I mean, you got to think the 3 NFC teams I'm so sure of: the Eagles, the 49ers, you've also got Minnesota outside looking in. I mean, that's one team that honestly they're going to be so talented on. Dallas's defense, I mean, like I said, their formula seems to be working, and their defense is holding opponents to 16, 17 points a game. Like, that's insane. And looking at the entirety of it, the NFC is so wide open, so they got to do something from here. And Washington Commanders to QB or not to QB, I'm going to honestly say that's so hard because of the fact of Washington's identity. I truthfully think at the end of the year, they're going to say bye to Ron Rivera because the whole league is pivoting to offense. And that's just what the reality of it is. But here's what Washington does have: Cam Sims, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, that great wide receiver from Penn State. And they've also got a really good running back committee with, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, and J.D. McKissick. I think they got a really good running back committee. I'm a little iffy of tight end, but they've always been like that for the last few years. It's tough to say because they drafted Sam Howell. I've just seen him run on his feet majority of the time than I have seen him throw a football. And then Carson Wentz just gets no love at all from America. What do you think of this scenario? Plus, they're on the market. The entire franchise is up and on the market. So could we maybe see an entire change from there into the quarterback position too?
Yeah, I'm going to say QB right here because of how Taylor Heineke and everything has worked out when he got back in the lineup. Carson Wentz, they were 2-4 without him. With him in the lineup, Taylor Heineke also comes in. He makes a big jump of getting Terry McLaurin the football, and his offense is getting started. But you're right, man. Carson Wentz has been getting a lot of flack. They don't have the best offensive line either. The running game has not been there. It's not helped out Carson Wentz. I think he takes a lot of flack as well. I think teams are too hard on him, giving up on him too fast. When it's not all his fault. It ain't all his fault now. So at the end of the day, Taylor Heineke is playing better football at the end of the day. So got to go QB here with Taylor Heineke. Team plays better up under him. They got 2 wins. They're now 4-4. They're still in the thick of things in the NFC wild card race now. So you got to go QB with Taylor Heineke, being able to uplift this football team, this running game getting together. And now Terry McLaurin and Taylor Heineke has found a rhythm.
So here's a couple interesting teams from here as we're going down the list. We're almost done. Las Vegas Raiders to QB or not to QB. I'm going to make a hot take and say to QB. I'm not going to shake up the room because, first of all, Derek Carr, I know, is their franchise quarterback. Their offensive line outside of Colton Miller in a couple places, they are not gelling well. And by the way, and a lot of people have said this, that some are saying that they're regretting the Darren Waller trade. I'm not, because Travis Kelce and George Kittle, you see what they do with their tight end position, and same with Mark Andrews as well. So for the Raiders to lose someone like that, you're never goodbye to having a real good midfield tight end out there who's going to give you some open looks. By the way, I do think that they need to give Josh Jacobs an extension because he's been playing really, really good. And it's going to help with him and Zamir White being a really good running back tandem as well. But I still do think that if you're thinking about your future, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders really do go quarterback, because Mark Davis has to be thinking about a ton of things. He's thinking about the Josh McDaniels thing. Derek Carr, has he hit a wall? We don't even know that yet. What do you think?
I think they need to keep Derek Carr. I don't think you can win with no other quarterback outside of Derek Carr. Of course, Derek Carr got his best friend in Devontae Adams, which brought Devontae Adams over. So I think you can't win with nobody else. The biggest shot is Derek Carr. Darren Waller not being able to play, I don't think he wants to be a part of that organization anymore. You got to get Josh Jacobs more involved. It was a couple of games they got away from him. They got away from Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs has really been the offense for the Las Vegas Raiders this year. But other than that, like I say, I like Derek Carr as a quarterback. He's a 9-year quarterback. You got to get this offense jump started. And it starts with giving the ball to Josh Jacobs, and he might deserve an extension the way he has put this team on his back this year.
Not to mention, too, Devontae Adams, yeah, he got his money's worth, but at the same time, you know what you're getting with him. You know that it's going to be great, and that's why I'm like, it'll be interesting to see how this scenario works. Seattle Seahawks to QB or not to QB? I'm going to still say to QB because, first of all, I love the Geno Smith story. He has been in this league for a long time, but think about it this way. They're pushing toward the playoffs. It's surprising to me that a franchise like the Seahawks, who people thought they were going to be a bottom tier team, they were just going to be rebuilding for the future, and then Geno Smith does this. And by the way, Kenneth Walker and Tariq Woolen, a lot of these rookies in Seattle are starting to hit. I think that if you're Seattle and you bring in and you draft a quarterback and you bring him into this offense, maybe that wasn't a big mistake, signing DK Metcalf to an extension. What do you think?
Hey, if you know Geno Smith was going to play like an MVP candidate at this point, hey, I see why, he's DK Metcalf will stay, and he looked like he's enjoying his time with Geno Smith being consistent. It was a time that in preseason when they were battling with him and Drew Lock going back and forth, and I was the one saying Geno Smith needs. I think he deserves a starting job because he's been more consistent in the preseason more than Drew Lock, and he has not let that opportunity go to waste. He's playing like an MVP caliber quarterback. Tyler Lockett helps him out as well. He's been very solid, and that defense, Tyreek Woodley, the rookie out of UTSA, has been no more than a piece. And you got Brian Cook over there as another rookie cornerback. And that defense is playing as hard as they come, but it starts with Geno Smith at the quarterback situation, playing like an MVP candidate. And this team is tough to beat. And Pete Carroll's a heck of a coach, man. Pete Carroll's a hell of a coach, man.
Oh, absolutely. And so finally, last team, because I think we already made the assumption for the Houston Texans they're going to QB because of the fact that they need to experiment a lot of these different quarterbacks into seeing who really fits the bill. But the New Orleans Saints to QB or not to QB? I think to QB because Andy Dalton is a quality backup quarterback. There's no doubt about that. I think that's really what his focus mainly is on. Jameis Winston is just getting hurt left and right. By the way, Michael Thomas now has a second dislocated toe. He's out for the season. I don't get it. I think they're going to unload on that contract because, first of all, it's like he's just kind of he's just collecting his retirement money. I mean, that's really what it ultimately looks like. But if you're the New Orleans Saints, is this a good idea to maybe possibly get a new quarterback in? Because at the same time, you've had Ian Book. He's no longer there. So do they probably try on another experiment on a quarterback?
I believe they should. I believe they should try another experiment at quarterback. It has not worked out. I know Jameis Winston was having a great season before he got hurt last year. He comes into the season with a back injury. He comes in the season, gets Tampa Bay, not playing great. He wasn't playing great when he was healthy. You have Ian Book, who has not really worked out. The quarterback situation is all over the place, but Andy Dalton has played some good football, too. But now he's just a backup quarterback. I don't think he's a starter anymore. So I think the New Orleans Saints should be shopping for a quarterback at some point, whether if it's doing a drop or free agency.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. That was to QB and not to QB. But like I said, I mean, there's several teams. I would have listed the Buccaneers on this, but here's the thing. I want to see Kyle Trask. I have not seen him take a few snaps, and a lot of people haven't really talked about him. And I just think the timing for Tom Brady is just really starting to come up right now. But I watched Kyle Trask in Florida, and I liked with what I've seen. But it's like if we're not seeing him transition or at least given the shot in the NFL level, then how can we tell whether or not if he's a hit or not? Like I want to see more snaps with him. I think because the roadway is now started to kind of close up on Tom Brady, this has got to be it. This has got to be the year. You got to hang it up. But I truthfully do like with a lot of the quarterbacks that we've seen. First of all, Jalen Hurts is just getting better week after week after week, and and I said this yesterday on Emmanuel Acho's take, saying that Justin Herbert is overrated. I don't think so. First of all, you're completing 66% of your throws, 12 touchdowns, 4 picks. That's overrated with a quarterback rating of 91. I don't get it. I mean, it's not his fault that the fact that the franchise around him have just had serious issues for over 40 years. Like, I don't blame him. But, it is interesting because, first of all, the Atlanta Falcons thing is so weird. Because Marcus Mariota, we saw the spurt of him in Las Vegas where he was playing really good. And this is coming out of Tennessee. And then you come into an Arthur Smith offense where he's known Arthur Smith since Tennessee. And he comes into Atlanta, and now Atlanta's built for speed, knowing now Calvin Ridley's out of the building. You still have Drake London, who I think is a big-time hit, but could you imagine, I'm watching receivers from Tennessee to Alabama, even some from Georgia, Ohio State. And a lot of those receivers, lots of them are really talented when it comes to their route running, but they're also talented on their speed. That's where I think Atlanta might pivot to. That's why I'm like, it's so hard to say to draft a quarterback. Because of the fact that you have him and you have Desmond Ridder. But I think that's going to be interesting. All right. Well, Donte, I appreciate you coming up on here, man. It's been great talking with you. Always a pleasure. And congratulations to those Houston Astros for winning the second title in franchise history. And great for Dusty Baker as well. Best of luck over there to you as well. Yep. Is the team still playing, or are they on the off season right now?
Man, they're going to be on the off season, man. They're going to be on the off season. So,
all right.
Man,
well, we got some future kids up over there. I've seen a couple of spurts where some of those kids are throwing the ball.
Man. Hey, man, you got some future Chargers coming up. Los Angeles Chargers coming up in the books, man. So, hey, get ready for them.
Boy, they're going to need to scout them big time. All righty, Donte, thank you so much. Have a good one, man, and best of luck to
thank you, man.
Hell yeah. Oh, man. Always so good talking with Coach Donte, for sure. And, like I said, I mean, he said it before. I mean, he's the only understanding and real Houston fan that understands the pressure, that understands what the job title and what the role is for him. And so for the Houston Astros winning the second World Series, I mean, this narrative changed a lot. Good for them. Great for Dusty Baker. And regardless of what everybody else says, like I think to the point we get it now. Like, there's no trash cans involved. There's none of this whole, like, how the media is going to be. This is why I don't draw so heavily onto social media. I really don't. So, but that is going to do it for me here on the Snake Sports Talk Show. And of course, for everybody, if it's your first time here, like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell button, and keep yourselves up to date for future and past shows. We've got so many interviews that have been going around, and that has been the key goal for the show. So you know who else I'm going to end up bringing in soon, but you don't want to end up missing out on that. And the Snake Sports Talk Show, all over iHeartRadio, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram, and also on the Fox D network. You guys do not want to end up missing out on the show, but we appreciate every single one of you guys who have come on and hung out with me on the show. Have a great rest of the weekend. Good luck to all of your teams. I'm paying attention to my prime predictions, so I've got myself set on it. So have a great day, have a great Sunday, and we will see you guys next Saturday on the next edition of the Snake Sports Talk Show. Take care.
Have you